Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So hello everyone again, and thank you very much for joining Dragon Trail International for our monthly webinar series. Today we will be talking about video marketing for Chinese tourism, this is a huge and still growing trend, and there's a lot to share today in terms of tips, talking about video platforms, and the kinds of results that you might get from video marketing for tourism. So on the agenda today, we will start with an overview of the big picture of the importance of online video in China today, before looking at some of the must-know video platforms. Then I'll be talking quite a lot about strategy and different things that you can do with video depending on your own goals and resources. I'll talk very briefly today about live streaming. I think this is something that relates to video, but is quite different in many ways and really deserves a whole webinar unto itself, but we'll go over that quickly. During the whole webinar today, we will be sharing lots of different real-life examples, but I'd like to go further in depth to look at the case study from Peru, as this is a tourism board that Dragon Trail has worked with on video marketing for many years and has got some really excellent results. Then at the end, I'll talk briefly about some next steps that you can do, and then open it up for Q&A. As always, you can send in questions at any point during the webinar by using the Q&A button on your Zoom control panel. Please do use the Q&A button instead of the chat, as it makes it much easier for me to see the questions and make sure that those get answered at the end of the webinar. And then finally, also as always, we will be sharing the presentation slides from today's webinar, as well as a link to a recording of the webinar. So you should have all of those materials tomorrow for your own reference, and you're also welcome to share those with any colleagues that you think might be interested but weren't able to attend the live webinar today. We also will be doing a second session of this webinar at 5 p.m. UK time. So if you have colleagues who will be awake at that hour and might be interested in joining, please let them know, as the signups for that are still open. So just a quick introduction to me. My name is Sienna Perulis-Cook, and I'm Dragon Trail's Director of Marketing and Communications based in London. I am behind Dragon Trail's English language social media accounts, as well as our monthly newsletter and webinars, and most of the informational content that you'll find on the Dragon Trail website about Chinese tourism and digital marketing. I'm also the author of the co-author of the 2019 edition of the book, China, the Future of Travel. So for those of you who don't know us and might be attending a Dragon Trail webinar for the first time, Dragon Trail is a marketing solutions company based in China. We work with the tourism, MICE, education, and international trade industries. Since 2009, we have worked very extensively with the travel industry to help tourism brands all around the world to connect with Chinese consumers, as well as the Chinese travel trade, through digital initiatives, including video, social media marketing, website creation, online training, and virtual events. And if you'd like to learn more about our services and case studies of our work, please do visit our website, www.dragontrail.com. So let's start today's presentation by looking at the big picture of video marketing in China, and specifically video marketing for travel. So Dragon Trail actually already ran a webinar on the topic of video marketing, but that was in 2017. And at that point, video had already emerged as an important medium in China. And since then, it has only continued to grow with new platforms and many new viewers. The pandemic has then further increased online video viewership, And now we can see that the vast majority of Chinese internet users are watching video online. So according to the latest numbers released by the CNNIC, which is China's official ministry of the internet, 94% of Chinese internet users are watching video online by the end of 2020, and 88% were watching short video online. And we can also see that there were big growth in those numbers. So for instance, an additional 100 million Chinese started watching short video online in the last 9 months of 2020. What stands out to me from these official numbers perhaps the most is that online video is actually more popular than online shopping in China. So this viewership is really immense. But of course, these numbers are really looking at all videos. So the question is, what about travel video content? Here we can see, according to a very recent survey on technology and travel from the Chinese travel industry media brand Travel Daily China, short video was only behind social posts from friends and family and ahead of recommendations from friends and family as a source of travel inspiration, with nearly half of their survey respondents, actually exactly half of their survey respondents saying that they got travel inspiration from short video apps. So short video is something that has gone from, in 2017 when we did the webinar, it was nice to have, it was like an extra bonus for your kind of travel marketing, and now it's everywhere. Now it has turned into a must-have. Now, when we look at travel marketers rather than consumers, this is based on a survey of travel marketers whose primary area is Chinese outbound tourism that Dragon Trail conducted in 2020. We can also see that video is one of the most popular marketing strategies. Actually, I think the most popular marketing strategy in this poll. So more than half of Dragon Trail's travel marketer survey respondents said that they used short video before the pandemic, and then an additional 31% had adopted this as a new strategy last year. Well, hopefully things should change soon. Outbound tourism from China is still almost totally on hold. So it's worth talking about why marketing in general and video marketing specifically is something worth doing now. I think in terms of marketing in general, when we look at the performance of overseas tourism brands on WeChat and Weibo over the past year, it's actually very encouraging that we can see sustained and even in many cases increased readership and engagement from a Chinese audience. So although Chinese travelers can't travel outbound now, it doesn't mean that they have stopped thinking about it. And actually, we see growing readership rates for content from national tourism boards, for instance, on WeChat. So they're still very much engaged with this kind of content and really dreaming about their next trip whenever they can do that. And I think when outbound tourism comes back, it's going to get very big again. And then video specifically is something that has grown during the pandemic. As we can see, there are more and more people watching video online. And we can also see more and more travel content that is video based when we look at Chinese social media. So it's something that's very common when we look at the top WeChat and Weibo posts every week, because we track this at Dragon Trail with weekly rankings for WeChat and Weibo looking at tourism brands. And a lot of times the top content is video based. We can also see that there was a 143% increase in travel videos posted on Douyin in 2020. So travel is more and more prominent as part of this video content. So I think that video has really become an essential update to any Chinese tourism marketing strategy if you're not doing it already. And we recommend video marketing for sowing the seeds of travel inspiration. through a vivid and dynamic medium that will help destinations and businesses to really show a Chinese audience what they are and what they have to offer. And especially as we're looking at post-pandemic travel, to be able to kind of instill more confidence in the market by showing them what a destination is really like, which you can do maybe more through video, more convincingly through video than just photos and text. So now let's look at the most important online video platforms in China. What I'd like to say as a preface to this is that there are just a lot of video platforms or platforms that support video in China, and literally hundreds of live streaming platforms. And I think it can be easy to feel overwhelmed and worry about needing to be on every platform or whatever platform you heard about in the news that's trending last week, and you're not on that one, and will you be losing out? And instead of worrying about that and being on every platform and spreading yourself too thin, I think it's better to focus on, first of all, having good video content, especially content that is created for or localized for the Chinese market, and then making sure that you distribute that content on the platforms where you're already active. So if you don't have a Douyin account, that's okay. You could get more views on Weibo anyway. And I would recommend just starting by getting video out there. So this can be on your existing social media platforms, on your existing website, or if you don't have any of those things, just sharing it directly with the Chinese travel trade, who then can help to distribute that kind of video content on your behalf with their clients. So there are a lot of different options. And also, if you're opening lots of new accounts on new platforms, you would need to start from scratch, building a follower base there. So another option instead is to work with KOLs, key opinion leaders, who are already active on those platforms and already have big follower bases and can then distribute the video marketing content on your behalf to reach a large audience without you having to establish that account yourself. So this is a basic one-page comparison guide to the leading platforms for video marketing for tourism, with the number of users, the kind of generally who the audience is, the kind of content and video format. And just to remind you, I will be sharing today's presentation slides with everybody tomorrow, so don't worry about writing this all down right now. We will be sharing that with you, so you'll have this for reference later. So different platforms can help to deliver results in different ways, and this is similar to Chinese social media marketing, or really any social media marketing in general. So for example, you are going to get much higher exposure on Weibo, than WeChat for videos or really any kind of content. However, your audience will be more involved and more targeted on WeChat. So there's kind of a trade-off there. As we'll see, different platforms also lend themselves more to different kinds of content, as well as different kinds of audience demographics. So the first platform to talk about today is WeChat and WeChat Channels. So not only is WeChat increasingly popular for travel brands to include video content in their official account posts. So this will be your subscription account or your service account that sends out articles every week. So we see more and more of those posts already have video in them. But in addition to that, WeChat also launched its own video platform called WeChat Channels in early 2020. WeChat Channels can support short videos, and for some accounts, it supports longer videos up to 30 minutes, as well as live streaming. So previously, when it first came out, WeChat Channels accounts were totally separate from official accounts. You might need an official public account on WeChat to open your Channels account, but on the platform, those things were separated from each other and not linked together, which was kind of a drawback. But earlier this year, WeChat solved that problem and it connected the two. So now your official account profile has a link to your channel's account and vice versa. So this is much better for attracting people to both accounts. You can see circled in pink in the examples here from small luxury hotels of the world, their channel account and their official account, and the fact that you can, if you open one, you can go easily to the next one. So for instance, if someone sees your video on channels and they're attracted by that, then it can bring them to your official account and have you start have them start following you there. Or if they're already following your official account, they'll see now that you have a channels account and might go there to watch the videos. There are many positive things to say about WeChat channels. I would say, first of all, WeChat in general is China's leading social media platform. So everybody is on it. All kinds of demographics are using it. And the social nature of WeChat is quite important too, where people are connected on WeChat to their friends, their family, their colleagues. And so you can easily share content with them that way, and also see recommendations about things that your contacts on WeChat are watching. So it's integrated socially like that, and I think that can help to give your content more exposure within certain groups of people, social groups that might be particularly interested, for example, in the topic of travel. So WeChat Channels, specifically, it has an algorithm that shows you content that it thinks that you'll like based on other content that you've viewed, what accounts you follow, and specifically content that your friends have liked. So this is how it ties in with those kind of social networks on WeChat. So this can all help to attract new viewers who are interested in travel or specifically interested in your destination or the kinds of topics that you're writing about or making videos about. If you already have an official account on WeChat, then it's very easy to open a channels account. And because the platform is still fairly new, WeChat has been helping to provide promotional support for overseas tourism boards on channels. I think the fact that WeChat channels came out right at the same time as COVID-19 did meant that the uptake has maybe been a little bit slower than it normally would have been for overseas tourism brands. And because of that, they are receiving a lot of support, and WeChat is very welcoming for more overseas tourism brands to join this still relatively uncrowded field. So now is a good time to get in. So I would say if you already have an official account on WeChat and you already have video content, then you should definitely join channels for the extra exposure that this can offer. And as is generally the case with WeChat, your content views are likely to be lower here than on Weibo or Douyin, but WeChat is where you're likely to find the most involved audience that actively wants to view your content and is actively interested in your kind of destination or brand, rather than someone who just sees a few seconds of video because they're scrolling through. With WeChat channels, I think you would get higher exposure because you do see videos scrolling through, but with everything with WeChat, I think it's a little bit more targeted, and especially with video that's posted in articles by the official account, you really have to be interested in that article and click into it in order to see the video. So that means you'll have a very engaged audience there. So next up for platforms is Sina Weibo, and this supports short video and live streaming. Here it's even easier than on WeChat to open an account. You don't have to open any additional account to post video content. And because it's a more open platform, then that means exposure will be higher too. And like with WeChat channels, Weibo has also been providing a lot of support in the last year to overseas tourism boards, specifically that we're doing live streaming, because this is a relatively new function on Weibo. So they did, I believe it was last September, kind of a campaign for overseas tourism boards where they were helping to give advice and to promote live streaming sessions from overseas tourism boards from around the world. Now, talking about platforms that are purely for video, you probably will have heard of Douyin, which is the original Chinese version of TikTok, as well as Kuaishou, which is sometimes just called Kwai. Both of these platforms are for short videos of a minute or less. When they started, Douyin was limited to videos of 15 seconds, but now it went up to 1 minute. And both of these platforms are very popular with younger users. While Kuaishou is a big short video platform in China and one that gets a lot of attention, I don't know that it's particularly appropriate for outbound tourism marketing, since it has a very large user base in lower tier cities and very young users. And at present, this is probably not the target audience for most outbound tourism brands, although that could always change in the future. Douyin is a few years old already, and it's very popular and a bit crowded already. So this is one platform where you might consider working with KOLs instead, who are already present and have a big following on Douyin, rather than starting your own account. However, if you do open an account, exposure can be quite high, and we can see from the example here from Peru's Douyin account that they received more than 130,000 views for one of their videos. So next up for video platforms is Bilibili. This is an online platform for games, animation, and video. And the video content here, it ranges anywhere from a minute or two to an hour and a half or more. And most of the travel related videos seem to be an average of around 5 to 10 minutes. So this is really more in-depth, longer content. Most of the travel videos as well have a professional level of content and editing. So these are more videos that are posted by KOLs who really have the resources to make professionally edited, longer, more in-depth video content, rather than kind of amateur user content. And this is a platform where it's really not about opening your own account. To my knowledge, I don't think that there are any overseas tourism boards, for instance, that are active on the account. So it's really more about a platform where you would be cooperating with KOLs who already have a good following and video production capabilities. Then the last platform to talk about today is Xiaohongshu, or Little Red Book. And this is an aspirational lifestyle platform that supports both video and photo content. I do think it's a little bit more photo content, but there's quite a lot of video content as well. And actually, when you're on the app, you can sort specifically to only look at video content. So it kind of highlights that kind of content. And on Xiaohongshu, you will find a real mix of professional brand created video content. So the image you can see here on the right, for example, is a professional promotional video from a hotel group. But there is a lot of very amateur user content on Xiaohongshu that are really just little videos that people have put together about their own travels. And so that means it could be a good place to encourage UGC, user-generated content, as well as posting your own professional videos and photos. So those are the leading platforms that you should know about for video. And now it's time to talk about strategy for creating video content and then sharing that video content. So for video content, there are a number of choices depending on your own resources. And actually, any of these choices can work well. Level 0 or level 3, it doesn't mean that any of them are bad. They're just different, and they can all work well if you kind of choose the right video and do it in the right way, as I'll be talking about with the examples here. So at the most basic level, you can share your general marketing videos that are not in Chinese and were not created expressly for a Chinese audience. Now, I don't think it's so effective or user-friendly to post a video with a lot of voiceover in English or another language that's not Chinese with no subtitles. But one brand, for example, that is working very well with video content that doesn't have any Chinese or anything is Tourism Australia. They post a lot of videos of cute animals, and those videos don't have any speaking in them. It's just some music and like kangaroos and wombats running around. And so that communicates very effectively a nice image of Australia, and you don't need to use any language for that, and has appeal for people in many different countries. So if you do have videos with nice background music and the kind of footage that doesn't really need any explanation, except for maybe, you know, a caption of what the animal is when you post the video, like you can see here on the example of Tourism Australia on Weibo, then that can work really well. But there are, of course, further steps that you can do to give people a more in-depth kind of experience and introduction to your destination or to your brand. And the first step would be localizing videos with subtitles, or Chinese voiceovers, or even editing footage so that it's more targeted to the Chinese market in terms of activities, places, or people featured in the video. So some more examples of that, moving from left to right here, is there was a video posted on Weibo recently by Louvre that did very well, had very high engagement and very high views. And in this video, there was a woman who was very dramatically presenting a certain statue and area gallery in the museum, and she was doing it in French. It was a really kind of dramatic, beautiful, poetic delivery, and they just added Chinese subtitles to that. And so I think what she was presenting, the content was very engaging, the way she was presenting was very engaging, and then just having a good Chinese translation with subtitles was enough to make this video very successful. Then looking at the Hong Kong Tourism Board, I mean, Dragon Trail is not involved in those videos, so I don't know exactly how they do it. But if you look at the Hong Kong Tourism Board's videos for the Chinese market specifically that are shared on WeChat and Weibo, and then the videos that they create for a more general global market that have English in them and are shared on their, for example, on Twitter, we can see that there are a lot of similar themes and even similar footage, but there is a slight difference of the kinds of people who are portrayed in the video, if they're Chinese or not. Obviously, the language is different, and just that the content, while it does cover similar things about Hong Kong and even uses some of the same design, it is localized, looking at slightly different markets and what will be closer to them and their experience visiting. And that is very successful as well. So this video that I've got a screenshot here from the Hong Kong Tourism Board on WeChat in February got quite a lot of views and a positive reception. And while I'm not showing all the videos here, something that I can do is add the links to the videos in the presentation slides that I'll share, so you can go and watch those videos on your own later. And then finally, at the far end of the spectrum for video content would be to create content from scratch, specifically for the Chinese market. So this includes shooting the video and working with Chinese KOLs or actors, which is something that From Peru has done that we'll look into in more depth later on. So either as a supplement to your own video content or a substitute for making your own video content, you can also do video marketing with other people's video content. And there are a number of options for this too. So if you're working with KOLs who specialize in video, then you can outsource the content creation to them entirely. So some examples here, we've got a KOL video for Argentina travel where Dragon Trail sent 2 KOLs to Argentina, and they made their own videos of the trip, but then we were also able to use and recut that footage for further marketing. So that's something where if you're setting up a KOL trip, you can talk to them about kind of who retains the rights to those videos, and if they keep the rights to the video content and only post it on their channels, or if then you get the footage and can do more with that. Another example is the KOL who's getting into the helicopter in Las Vegas. That's another KOL who specifically specializes in video content and was sent through Dragon Trail to Las Vegas to shoot video and post that to promote the destination. So those are options if the KOLs are shooting the videos on their own. But another thing that you can do is create the content yourself. So in the case of Peru, we sent a video team together with the KOLs. So they weren't shooting the video content themselves, we were shooting them. But then they helped us to amplify that video content by sharing it on their own channels. You can also take advantage of the fact that so many travelers are now making their own video content by running UGC campaigns to encourage and reward that, which is something you can do with hashtags and prizes, competitions. And then there's also a no budget option that's available to anyone if you have the time to put into looking for these videos and can read Chinese. And this would be to seek out, share, and encourage user-generated videos and other content by finding good videos that users are posting online of your destination or brand, and then liking it, commenting on it, and sharing that online too. So an example here from Visit Florida is, sorry, I'm trying to see if they were tagged or not. I don't even think they were tagged in the video, but they were able to find this cool video from a diving instructor that was taken off the coast of Florida, and then share that through their own account, which then helped that video get a much bigger exposure than it generally would when it was just posted by the user. So if you are creating your own video content, just a few tips about that. So one, of course, is making it linguistically accessible for a Chinese audience, but then some other suggestions, especially if you're just starting out with video, is to keep it short, 1 minute or less, so that people are engaged and it fits with people's short attention spans now. I think we see longer content for people who are really engaged and want to look at that kind of content or follow a specific KOL, but generally if you can keep video content short, then that's something that appeals to more people. You should also use nice background music and focus on popular themes like cute animals, food, and beautiful scenery in order to get the most exposure and the most popularity for that video. Now I'd like to share some more in-depth suggestions based on different goals. So here's a set of questions to guide you when creating a video campaign plan. So first, who is your audience? Consumers, which we've focused on so far, or Chinese travel agents? Is the video intended to reach as many people as possible, in which case things like cute animals work really well for mass appeal? Or are you targeting a specific audience, such as skiers, photographers, or families? Second, why are you considering this video campaign? Is it to inspire or to inform? What do you want to communicate specifically to post-pandemic travelers about what you're offering? Third, which platforms are best suited to your content? Or if there's a specific channel that you want to be on, what's the most effective strategy? So for example, it's best to work with a KOL for Bilibili and potentially Douyin too, whereas on WeChat, you might prefer to attract users to your account by using your own content. So here are just a few scenarios about different things that you can do with video marketing campaigns for different goals, to give you an idea of how diverse this really can be. So for example, if you want to use video for B2B marketing, you can create video content that provides training and information to Chinese travel agents. So kind of a virtual fam trip to help them learn more about your product. Or you can also provide inspirational marketing videos to travel agents, and then they can share these with their clients to help inspire their clients and empower them to make sales on your behalf. If your goal is to inspire travelers and get them dreaming about their next trip and also establish your post-pandemic brand. So for instance, if looking ahead to post-COVID travel, you would like to shift the focus of your destination, maybe away from museums and more towards outdoor attractions or wellness tourism, then video is a good way to showcase this kind of thing. You can try creating really visually appealing showpiece videos, as well as more themed content that would be intended for targeting specific market segments, such as families or couples. And these kinds of showpiece videos are also the kinds of things that you can share with Chinese travel agents who might find that kind of collateral very helpful when they are telling clients about a destination or a product as well. You may also want to provide more informative video content with more specifics about itineraries and places to visit, as well as video guides to visa applications and COVID protocols. So these videos, again, are something that are helpful to have perhaps on your own channels like WeChat, your Chinese website, and would also be helpful to share with travel agents as it can help inform them, and then also is the kind of content that they might want to share with their clients to answer the client's questions. And then lastly, if you want to maintain more of a conversation with lots of audience engagement and recruitment over a long period, then we would recommend breaking your video content down into really short bites that can be released frequently. You can do this by re-editing longer footage that you already have in a way that makes it more bite-sized and suited to Chinese short video platforms. And you can kind of make that fun and jazz it up with things like special effects and voiceovers, animations that are added to the video. So you're doing something more with that kind of footage that you had from before. Okay. So I want to talk very briefly about live streaming here. Live streaming definitely relates to video content, and it's also become incredibly popular. We can see live streaming on many, if not all of the same platforms where you can see video. But it really is a very different format than things like short video. And there's also so much to say about it that I think it's better if we do a whole webinar on live streaming later rather than covering video and live streaming all in one day. But I did want to say just a few words about it now, since it does share many of the same platforms. Live streaming has been big in China for a long time, especially for e-commerce, but it really took off last year for travel when the pandemic hit. And this started with hotels live streaming cooking classes during lockdown, then travel companies live streaming to stimulate sales once the domestic market started to get going again. We saw tour guides inside and outside of China live streaming on new platforms, such as travel website Mafengwo's live streaming channel. And there also have been a lot of overseas tourism boards that have organized their own live streaming sessions to inspire future visitors and enable them to travel virtually. So here are a few essential rules and tips about live streaming as a tourism marketing activity. Although live streaming is live, you don't just want to wing it. You need to make sure that you prepare and practice in advance. You should test your internet connection in advance, especially for the full route of the live streaming that you're planning to do to see if it cuts out anywhere. You will want to test your sound to check if there are any distracting background noises that you could minimize or get rid of for the live session. It can also be very helpful both for organizing your presentation and for marketing the live stream to pick a theme for the session. And you'll definitely want to get hosts that can lead the live stream in Chinese and also interact with viewers who send in comments during the live streaming, because this kind of live interaction is really one of the appeals of the medium. Another good way to attract viewers and keep them engaged is to offer a giveaway as part of the live stream. And this can be something really small, like a stuffed animal or a small souvenir from your destination or business. So that's really all I'm going to say about live streaming for today, but we will come back to this in another webinar in the future. And in the meantime, you can find interviews with live streamers and more information on live streaming on the resources section of the Dragon Trail website. So I know we've already seen some examples from Peru throughout the presentation today, but I wanted to take a look at their whole video strategy over the past several years, as well as the results from that. So first, some background on this brand. Peru, like anywhere else in Latin America, is a very niche new destination for Chinese travelers with quite low market awareness. Through video, Peru can now give potential visitors a more immersive picture of what the destination is like, and they use video to educate, inspire, and empower a target audience of experienced, culturally engaged, and adventurous travelers aged in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. So that's really the brief. The video campaign started with a 2-week trip to Peru with 2 Chinese KOLs and Dragon Trail's video team in 2018. And the footage from that 2-week trip is still being used and repackaged with a lot of ongoing success. The strategy of the videos focuses on 3 styles. The first is to inspire people and tell them travel stories about Peru. The second is more specific information and practical tips. So this includes guides to restaurants and bars in Lima, for example, or videos with information about how to apply for a visa. And then lastly, oh, sorry, I'm just checking. Lastly is more the kind of ongoing social engagement with short videos, which we talked about recently. And you can find links here to watch examples of all of these different kinds of videos for yourself when we share the presentation slides later. And especially also on the Dragon Trail website is a recent case study that looks specifically at the social engagement style videos with the recent 2021 Chinese New Year campaign that From Peru did. So the results of this video campaign have been impressive for many years. The initial video campaign had just 2 videos, and one of these was kind of a showcase marketing video about Peru generally that was just a minute or 2 long. And then there was a longer video that was kind of a 15-minute documentary about travel in Peru with interviews with the 2 KOLs. And when those were first released, they got 3.3 million views. And then over the last 3 years, this has grown to nearly 20 million views. Most recently, our 2021 Chinese New Year campaign on WeChat, WeChat Channels, Weibo, Douyin, and Mafanghua got more than 7.5 million video views and more than 50,000 interactions. These short videos are also propelling Peru's overall WeChat performance. So not just on WeChat Channels, but also for their official account on WeChat. In the first quarter of this year, Peru was actually the number 4 country in the world on WeChat looking at National Tourism Board accounts. And this is phenomenal for such a niche destination. And it's the first time that any Latin American country has received so much attention on Chinese social media for their tourism resources. The videos have also won awards both at ITV China as well as in Peru. So here you have some more examples of the different kinds of video themes, which you can watch through the links provided when you receive a copy of the presentation slides tomorrow. So what's next? I imagine that everyone will be at their own stage in terms of, for example, whether or not you have Chinese social media accounts or video content that you can use. And hopefully this presentation has helped you to think about what the next steps for you would be. So for example, adding Chinese subtitles to your video content, or opening a WeChat Channels account if you already have an official account and the video content to put there. If you're interested in doing more with video, Dragon Trail has a full video production team. And under normal pre-pandemic circumstances, we can organize a whole filming trip like we did for Peru. But even at this stage where it is impossible to organize an outbound trip, at least for the time being like that, we can also edit and localize pre-existing footage, create animation, help you to get set up on different platforms, and coordinate KOL campaigns. So for example, there are KOLs who are Chinese KOLs who are based outside of China, who could still do campaigns and content at this point, even though they can't travel. And we've also seen some kind of video where you can use the KOLs who are in China. So for instance, some of the videos that we made from Peru's Chinese New Year campaign, we interviewed the same KOLs who had traveled to Peru, or KOLs that had traveled to Peru on their own, not as part of the Dragon Trail trip before. So we interviewed them in their homes in China to talk more about their travel experiences. So there are many ways that you can do this, even with the restrictions on outbound travel that exist right now. So please do get in touch with us if you have specific video requests and questions that we might be able to help with. If you are looking for more information on video marketing, live streaming, and other updates on Chinese travel and digital marketing, please do check out the resources section on the Dragon Trail website, as well as the case studies section. You can also sign up for our monthly newsletter if you haven't already, and follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and WeChat. So thank you very much, everyone, for your attention during the webinar today, and I'm